the state is in the grip of a bushfire emergency. Several fires are burning out of control, the most serious here in the Adelaide Hills on the city's doorstep. So far across South Australia, one person has died, another is missing and several properties have been destroyed. 7 emergency service workers are amongst the injured. All this on a day of record heat that's pushed emergency services to the limit. Tonight we have reporters right across Adelaide to bring us the latest. Elspeth Hussey begins our extensive coverage.
Uncontained, unpredictable and on our doorstep, a wild inferno in the Adelaide Hills.
Something to see, I tell you, once in a lifetime thing I think, and I hope I don't have to see it again.
A woodside home that stood for decades, incinerated in seconds. This was the main street at 1 o'clock. Apocalyptic scenes, frantic horses and a handful of residents all that remained.
I'm not really prepared to stay and find out what's going to happen. I'll just get out of here.
The monster bushfire started at Cuddly Creek after a tree reportedly toppled onto power lines, an act of nature with horrendous consequences. The blaze tore through towns, obliterating everything in its path. Lobethal, Balhanna, Nan and Mount Torrens all in the line of fire. The Pearce family tried to flee their Lenswood home after receiving this dire warning from firefighters.
We're going to have ember attack shortly, and that ember attack is what will get your house.
But as they tried to run, they were turned back, along with a 7 News crew, our cameraman grabbing a hose and fighting to save the home. As the winds pulled and pushed the flames across the hills, wildlife frantically scattered for safety. Horses, kangaroos and sheep exposed and frightened.
We've lost all our pasture. We had a sprinkler system on the house, so the house has been saved. 500
firefighters are on the ground. 4 have been injured, along with 3 police officers. Several homes have been destroyed and there's fears of loss of life.
We're also concerned because there is a person missing in the Cuddly Creek area as we speak.
Aerial help has arrived from New South Wales and Victoria. At Mount Torrens, residents are looking to the sky for help.
We're hoping we might get a bit of assistance from the planes and a bit of water, but otherwise we'll just fight it from close to the house.
But the conditions are so ghastly, our water bombing fleet at times has had to be grounded.
Look after each other. Make sure you all come home safe at the end of the day.
Tragedy too in the Murray Mallee, a motorist crashing into a tree in smoky conditions as a blaze raged at Lameroo.
It's unclear at this time the exact circumstances of the vehicle collision and the cause of the fire, but they are being currently investigated.
In all, 120 fires have been burning across the state. North of the city at Hillier, a home was reduced to rubble. The fire started at Anglevale, racing towards heavily populated suburbs.
As bad as it gets, especially if you lose houses.
At Maitland on the York Peninsula, residents were told to leave as a bushfire burnt towards homes there. A challenging day for our hard-working volunteers and a fight that's far from over.
Thanks to the CFS guys.
Elspeth Hussey, 7 News.
Now, one of the towns under immediate threat is Mount Torrens. Andrea Nicholas is there. And Andrea, what's the latest?
Well, Mike, the situation has just got really serious here. We're just between Lobethal, just over the hill, where the front is coming through and heading towards Mount Torrens. We've been told it's time for us to bunker down, find a solid structure as the front passes through. Now, it's currently heading in a westerly direction towards Charleston. The westerly wind's blowing it towards Charleston, but a southerly wind change is coming through, and that's what is pushing it towards Mount Torrens. Now, residents in the areas of Mount Torrens, Gummaraka and Birdwood have been told to enact their bushfire survival plans. Either they decide to evacuate or stay and fight, but now is the time to make that decision. The residents here on this Kenton Valley property have decided to stay and fight. They've moved their animals closer to the home. They've got the sprinklers going. They have lost power, but they know that they're in it for the long haul. They say they were here for the Samson Flat fire and they managed to protect their home. They hope that they can do this again. But as the front comes over that hill, that fire will move very quickly and there's only one road to get out, Mike.
A mad scramble in the middle of Lithgow.
In this onslaught, a garden hose was the best weapon they had, as the monster from the Blue Mountains roared down the range. Immediately, family homes went up, a town of more than 20,000 under a brutal ember attack.
Jesus.
I'm very afraid for all of us.
Police turning firefighters to try to save their community. For streets, fires just popped up out of nowhere, and before you knew it, another house was engulfed. Once one fire was out, another had already started. This mining town having its mettle severely tested.
Trying to do something that's probably impossible.
They told us it would be catastrophic, and on cue, the Gospers Mountain mega fire woke up.
And there is a heightened risk of a fire-generated thunderstorm.
In Bilpin, firefighters walked into the gates of hell. Scorching heat and gusty winds, a mixture for mayhem.
It's gone further up there. We're just getting out.
For our already weary fire crews, conditions don't get worse than this. The blaze that's hounded communities on the city's southwest outskirts pushed into the town of Hilltop. A new target for this hungry fire.
If it gets too close, we're out of here.
They knew it was coming.
It's not far.
But it's hard to prepare for this.
I just don't want no one to get hurt.
Further south, just off the humid Yarranbull, a platoon of fire trucks were ready for the flames to run up the hill. Towns throughout the Blue Mountains faced a fight. This house was no chance. The community of Bell was dwarfed by the smoke, crews doing the best they could. Flames got close to the famous apple orchards in Bilpin. On the ground, it was just as gobsmacking. The scale of this bushfire emergency is hard to get your head around. The view from the 9 News helicopter, zero visibility, showing how hard it is to fight the fire from the air too. It's a shocking start to the Christmas break. Sydney is virtually barricaded in by road. There's no way to get over the Blue Mountains. With both the Great Western Highway and Bell's Line of Road shut in both directions, the train line blocked at Mount Victoria as well. The Hume Highway is closed between Sutton Forest and Narellan, and so is Picton Road.
Today is not the day to start your holiday.
There has never been a deployment of emergency service workers this large ever before.
An extra 250 trucks, which is about another 1,000 firefighters, are stood up and deployed.
But such is the sheer size of these fire fronts, they can't be everywhere.
We can't guarantee that you're going to get a fire truck.
500 elderly have been evacuated from Blue Mountains nursing homes. Hospitals are on standby with paramedics under the pump.
The busiest season on record for this organisation.
RFS is warning the 2 fire fronts surrounding Sydney could get even bigger, potentially into Warragamba and Luddenham, even North Richmond.
We're not going to get on top of all these fires until we get some decent rain.
But for Lithgow tonight, it's just a matter of saving as much as they can. Chris O'Keefe, 9 News.
That I've come back and was happening before I went away to ensure that we get the resources where they need to be. This is an incredibly well-coordinated response to these fires. I think there has been an underappreciation of just how much preparation goes into a fire season like this. Fires are not new in Australia. Fires are by no means new. And our fire services are responding to this fire better than last time. And the next time, it'll be better still with the resources and the technology and the other things we can put in place. So there's no need for knee-jerk responses. There's no need, I think, for doing anything other than sticking to the plans that have been set out and the preparations that have been made and making sure they're implemented. The challenge is that the duration of these fires during this season.
The Prime Minister said that our volunteers wanted to be there, and that made me really angry.
The fact is that these crews, yes, they're tired, but they also want to be out there defending their communities. And in many cases, you've got to hold them back.
Does he honestly think that this is how we want to spend our summer, with Graham fighting fires every other day and sleeping and resting on the days in between? These fires could go on for days, they could go on for weeks. We have no idea how long this will last. As the Prime Minister uses public money to jet off and have dinner with the Murdochs, does he appreciate what it's like to watch my husband walk in the door day after day, covered in soot, with nothing but a flimsy disposable face mask between himself, his lungs and the toxic smoke? How about some helmets for the volunteers with proper filters instead of your ritzy dinner? Does he appreciate that a P2 face mask is the best that they can offer my husband? The P2 is supposed to be well fitted to work properly, and nobody seems sure that it's appropriate for smoke in any case. Does the Prime Minister understand that my husband has just one set of yellow protection gear, so that after a shift he has two choices? He can wash it and hope that it's dry in time for his next shift, or he can wear it again smelly and dirty. No, Mr Morrison, my husband does not want to be fighting fires.
I was in Hawaii with my family, a trip I'd planned some 6 weeks ago, and 7 weeks ago in fact, and when I take family leave, it's a private family time.
Are you sorry for taking leave though? You knew about these catastrophic conditions that were coming. We've known about them for a couple of weeks now. Are you sorry to the residents in those areas?
Well, I already said that.
You are sorry?
I already said it. I'm comforted by the fact that Australians would like me to be here, just simply so I can be here alongside them as they're going through this terrible time. And so do those Australians who I had caused upset to, and I apologise for that. I take responsibility for my own decisions, and I take responsibility for those I've made in relation to my family, and more broadly in terms of my leadership responsibilities for the nation, and that's why I'm here.
The Prime Minister says the government won't make a knee-jerk response to the bushfire catastrophe, rejecting calls to bring forward a meeting with the states. Scott Morrison today visited a bushfire-hit community in New South Wales, denying he's at odds with his deputy over climate policy.
Beneath the smoky haze, a smouldering bushfire wasteland. In a chopper over the Blue Mountains, Scott Morrison viewed the devastation from a distance before arriving in Mudgee to get up close with those who fled to safer ground.
It's just gone straight through like this.
My son's been at it now for about 3 weeks.
But you should have had your holiday because you're going to be needed next year.
Well, yeah, there's always...
But not everyone was feeling as friendly.
The Prime Minister is doing nothing while our whole community is burning.
The bushfire crisis is fueling fears of global warming, and the Prime Minister appears at odds with his Deputy Prime Minister, who conceded Australia needs to take more action on climate change.
Yeah, absolutely. I do agree. Yes, entirely, yes.
Do we need to act now?
Well, we are acting now. Australia's
do we need to do more?
Australia's emissions are 50 million tonnes on average lower every year under our government.
Mr Morrison is not listening. He's not even listening to his own Deputy Prime Minister.
Scott Morrison insists they're both making the same point.
What we're both talking about is the government's policies, which for some time now we've said will continue to be addressing the challenge of climate change.
So anyone who looks at the Deputy Prime Minister's comment, who said that there needs to be change, and looks at the Prime Minister, who says nothing to see here, knows that they are at odds.
Today, the Prime Minister's rejected Labor's calls to bring forward a meeting with the states to discuss the bushfire crisis. His holiday to Hawaii made global headlines. And now, Time magazine's Person of the Year has weighed into the crisis too. Greta Thunberg tweeting a 9 News video on the fires, saying, "Not even catastrophes like this seem to bring any political action."
I'm not here to try and impress people overseas.
But it's views like this from people at home he might be more worried about.
If he doesn't do something about climate policy, he should just go back to Hawaii.
Ever. They're just out of resources. And I don't want to sound like I'm fucking panicking, but I fucking am.
These are extraordinary circumstances, Prime Minister. People are looking for leadership. Why was your judgment so off, and why did it take you so long to come back after you said that you were going to?
Well, Monique, that's your take on the events. I mean, 7 weeks ago we'd planned this, but look, we all make decisions, Monique. You do as a parent, I do as a parent. We all seek to balance our work-life responsibilities, and we all try and get that right. And you know, we can all make better decisions on occasions. And I was pretty upfront with the Australian people about that yesterday. You know, whether it's on a Friday afternoon and you deciding to take that extra plumbing contract and you said you were going to pick up the kids or something at my level. I mean, these are the things you juggle as parents.
I get that.
I have young kids, Monique, and I sought to make some good decisions there, and I could have made better on this occasion. But you know, these fires have been raging since September, Monique. I mean, with Jenny and I, we're up in Canungra back in September. We've been in Warhope, we've been Taree, we've been in Wilberforce, we've been up at the Brisbane, up at the headquarters up there in Queensland. These fires have been running for a long time, and they still have a time to run yet. And we'll be out there again today seeing what's happening on the ground. But my concerns are for those who are deeply impacted by them, Monique.
And no, I don't expect him on a hose. He's pathetic at everything. He'd be useless at it.
Believe it or not, that's the harbour bridge down there. So glad I got a window seat. All you can see of Sydney is bushfire smoke.
How fucked is this? Hey, how fucked is this?